Welcome to the NBA Carousel, brought to you by Sideline Sports in conjunction with Fantasy and Flavors. I'm Megan Price, your host and Spurs representative. We're 1 week out of the play-in tournament. Lakers are in at this moment, and so are the Celtics, both of them sitting in the seventh seed. Both teams have now been hit with the injury bug. LeBron is out for a couple of more games, and unfortunately, Celtic Jaylen Brown is now out for the rest of the season due to a ligament tear in his wrist, which requires surgery. Spurs are in the 10th seed, and despite losing 3 games last week, are likely to remain in the 10th seed. Pelicans are in the 11th seed, but they're 2.5 games behind. Let's talk to a team who has done nothing but move up lately, up out of the tournament woes, that's for sure, by moving into the 5th seed in the East. We have Jelani covering the Atlanta Hawks. Hi, Jelani.
Hey Megan, how you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Hopefully we can get a win, and I believe in better.
Awesome, awesome. So today you're playing the Wizards, right?
Yes, man. Last time I checked, I think we were up by two. And DeAndre Hunter is actually back as well, so good to get him
Awesome.
some more game action before playoff time comes around. But so hopefully we get this win because we're primed to, if we can, win the next 4 games to possibly push for the 4 seed.
Awesome. Well, how does it feel? Like mid-season, you guys let your head coach go, moved on, and now you're not having to worry about the play-in tournament. You don't have those same woes as the Celtics and the Lakers. How does that feel?
I mean, it feels pretty good. Beginning of the season, I think me and a lot of other Hawks fans, just kind of like in my circle, we predicted we could at least be a 6 seed. Um, wasn't obviously thinking too much about the different things that we've had to, different adversity that we've had to face with the injuries and having to let our head coach go and everything. But given all those circumstances, it's good to be in the 5th seed. Hopefully, maybe able to jump the 4th seed with some help from those teams out west that have to play the Knicks, and then also helping ourselves by winning these last 4 games. So overall, it feels good to be, just in the playoff hunt in general.
You just kind of alluded to something right there. If the playoffs were to start today, you guys would be having your first round series with the Knicks. Concerns there?
Not really. I know, the Knicks have had a incredible season. Julius Randle's been in the MVP conversations. Probably will be most improved player. The confidence I have with us possibly getting that series and maybe 2 games is just the fact that we haven't had a healthy roster the entire time we played them, or the 3 games we played them this year. We also didn't have Coach McMillan, besides one last game that we played them where Trey and a bunch of other people got hurt. We haven't basically had both those things with a full healthy roster, and then Coach McMillan being able to coach them. And then everybody already knows with a possible 7 game series, like you got time to obviously game plan for one specific team. I think 2 of the games that we played them back to back. So, just more
Right.
time to prepare for a specific team. Having these healthy bodies back, we're really just missing Cam Reddish at this point. And then also having Coach McMillan, which has done wonders with this team since
Right.
taking over. I think fair as well for us, even though it will be a tough matchup. In general, we just have to figure out how to slow down Julius Randle. That's really been our only person that kills us. Him, and then Emmanuel quickly, when we played them in the fourth quarter, has been the only problems we've really had. Other than that, I feel like so with the healthy bodies that we're getting back, we have a lot of mismatches that we could take advantage of, and should be able to exploit as long as we just slow down Julius.
I know the Pacers are kicking themselves letting McMillan go. He's looked great with you guys. And, with the Knicks, I feel like you also going to have to watch out for Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose has been on a hot
Yes,
streak over the last 6 weeks or so. And as long as he stays healthy, he's been playing pretty well. So that's going to have to be somebody that you shut down defensively. So
yeah.
you guys played, your last game was Thursday. So you had a little bit of a break. Y'all played
Hmm.
the Pacers, and it was a pretty close game, but you did lose. It was
Hmm.
133 to 126. But you know what? As I look at y'all scoring stats right here, it looks like how we would have expected y'all to look all year. Trey Young with 30, Bogdanovich
Hmm.
with 28, and then Collins with 25. So you had 3 players with 25 plus
Hmm.
points. So that's kind of what we had been expecting out of you guys until or before the injury bug hit you guys. So nice to see you guys healthy. Unfortunately, Tony Snell went scoreless in that game. And then let's see who else. Clint Capella had 10 points and 9 boards. Would like to see him with a couple of more points, but still a great performance.
Yeah, I'm about to say one of his lower scoring performances for sure, but he's been on the chair and probably should be in defensive player conversation this year as well.
I absolutely agree. So we talked about you play the Wizards today, and then you also play the Wizards again on Wednesday. Wizards have been pretty hot as of the last month or so. So interesting series, important for both teams here. And then you, the last game that you have this week. What game is that?
We'll be playing. I think the very last game we play is Houston. The game before that is the Magic. So as I said, all very winnable games, and I'll actually be going to the game on Wednesday. My second game going this year. So definitely looking forward to that. Hopefully they can get a win this time around.
Awesome. Good luck on your games this week, and then hopefully y'all are able to kind of rest and recuperate, unlike some of the other teams. And we'll see you guys in the playoffs. Let everyone know where they can find you, where they can follow you.
Of course,
we'll
of course. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Okay. Oh no, he's muted. You're muted. Oh no. Hold on, Jelani.
You got me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
I don't know. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why I went out. But like I said, thank you again for having me on. Looking forward to when playoffs roll around. Hopefully I can still, continue to talk about Hawks basketball and we'll, get us a first round series win. But like I said, you can follow me on Twitter at WTG MTM Podcast and What the Game Means to Me on Instagram and Facebook as well. I do talk Hawks if you're looking forward to that on Tuesdays, probably next Tuesday, with the Hoopers. And thank you again for having me.
Thanks so much, Jelani. We'll see you back. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move over to a team that's in number 2 in the West. We have Jordan Long covering the Phoenix Suns. Hi, Jordan.
Hi, Megan.
How you doing?
I'm good, except for last night. I mean, we were talking about it in the NBA Carousel chat. I don't know what happened last night to the Suns. They couldn't contain Anthony Davis.
It definitely so. Anthony Davis had, let me look at here.
He had actually a double-double. He had 42 points and 12 rebounds.
Right. And they don't really have a whole lot of their normal scorers back in the game. Like they don't have Schroeder right now. Let's see. I didn't see Kyle Kuzma didn't play. Andre Drummond kind of had a slow night. So I think this is just one of those examples of, a game that you guys struggled on, but y'all have won so much that you're going to have games that you don't play well in. And this is going to be something that has been somewhat of a little bit of an issue for the Suns. It's that finishing in that fourth quarter, my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, they get to these leads, or even if they're behind, I don't know what happened in the fourth. They just stop shooting. They stop playing. It happens to a lot of good teams, though. But the thing is you got to credit the Lakers' defense.
Right. So last night, your top scorers were Devin Booker. He had 21. Cameron Payne had 24. And then Mikal Bridges had 15. I was kind of surprised the last couple of weeks that we have talked to you about the Suns. Torrey Craig has had a couple of good games, or couple of good weeks, actually. And then in this game, he only had 2 points and 4 rebounds. And then DeAndre Ayton was also kind of cold as well with 6 points and 6 rebounds. So something that you want to see them step up on, but not something that you're used to seeing out of them. So I wouldn't be too concerned.
No, I'm not either. Torrey Craig, though, is more of a defensive presence anyway. He's not a very big offensive player, but you're right. Those guys do have to step up. But even having a Booker, he didn't have his best game. And Chris Paul, same with him. But Paul, we're used to, seeing him get assists, not points. But even so, I mean, you look at the starters. The starters had 57 points for the Suns, and the bench had 53. That's almost even. Right. That can't happen in the playoffs. And the 24 of those 53 actually came from Cameron Payne. So the thing is the bench is good, but you have to have your starters play a lot better.
Definitely agree. Chris Paul had 13 points, 10 assists, and 4 rebounds. Something of his normal performance. Would like to see him have maybe 2-3 more points than that. It wouldn't have made a difference in last night's game because it was a 13-point deficit right there. But Clippers are 3 games behind y'all, and they're in the number 3 spot. So I don't think you guys really have anything to worry about as far as losing seeding. You're going to rest from. Let's see. You play Thursday is your last game against the Trailblazers. So then you all have some time before the first round starts and be able to just kind of regroup. It's been an extremely compact season, and you guys have played way better than a lot of people anticipated. So, it's going to be a great first round for you guys. Let's see. You play the Warriors tomorrow at 9, and then the Trailblazers at Thursday at 9 is also. So which game are you more worried about?
Golden State, because of the fact I think they're in 8th place, 8th or 9th. They're going to be in the play-in tournament, but they have one of the best three-point shooters in the game. Actually, one of the more pure shooters in the game in Stephon Curry. So you got to actually play defense on Curry. He's one of those guys that can take over a game no matter what. So you got to play defense on them. Portland, they're a hot and cold team. I mean, yeah, you got Damian Lillard and Carmelo Anthony. But when those guys are cold, then the team goes cold. But Steph Curry, it's whatever he does. Right. The fact of the matter is he's a great shooter, and you have to stop him. It doesn't matter if they're down by 15 or up by 10. You don't know because of the fact of Curry's shooting.
Right, absolutely. And it's not like he's just shooting twos. He's going to shoot those extra point shots, the threes, and that's where they're going to, instead of when it's a 2-3 game or 2-3 possession game, he can up that in just by shooting those threes. Also, I'm looking at Golden State's last game, and Draymond Green had a really big game. So that's something that we haven't seen out of him a whole lot this season. And when I say big game, I mean like his points matched his assists as well. So it wasn't, it wasn't like unbalanced on his stat line. Like it was a completely balanced stat line. So if Draymond Green is heating up finally this season, that can be really dangerous as well. The Spurs are sitting in 10th, and I'm not really looking forward to having to play Golden State if that ends up being the case.
Well, for sure. And as for us being in the second seed, we're going to either play the Lakers or Golden State. We're going to play one of these teams. But I think the bad matchup is the LA Lakers because of Anthony Davis and his rebounding ability. And you have Caruso, who actually played pretty well. But in a 7-game series, you don't know what's going to happen. If LeBron going to come back, that's going to be another wild card for him, especially if we have to play him in a 7-game series. I just don't know how we get out of the first round if we have to play them because of last night. But the only good thing is we have home court advantage. Like you said, we are going to rest down the stretch because there's no way we're 2 games back of Utah. There's no way we're going to get that number 1 seed.
Right. And I haven't heard anything recently about Donovan Mitchell coming back, but I don't think that they're going to even rush it. I doubt that they even rush him to come back for the first round series of the playoffs. So I expect probably not to see him until the second round.
And that's probably a good thing for Utah. You need Donovan Mitchell to have rest. The last I heard is that he was going to come back at some point. They were hoping at the end of the season, but you're right. With his injury, you don't want to rush that because if he gets hurt, then he is done for the season, potentially for the playoff run, which actually helps the Suns, especially if they get through the second and have to play them in the Western Conference Finals, because right then and there, the Utah Jazz are no match for the Suns. We've seen that in the regular season.
Absolutely. So how long are we talking? The Trailblazers game is on Thursday. And so when is the first round set to start? How long do you all have off?
It'll be after the play-in tournament, which I believe is after next week. I'm not exactly sure on the dates.
Okay. So you're looking at probably at least 7 to 10 days off. That's a nice little break. That's better than the All-Star break for most people or most teams. So it'll be a nice break, and then we'll see that mini series. It's almost like a mini season that is the playoffs. I expect you guys to do really great, and I will be seeing you back, I'm sure, because you guys are going to make it to the Western Finals, my prediction.
I hope
Jordan,
so.
Definitely. Let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you, and we'll see you back next week.
You can follow me on Twitter at SportsScoop1. I also have my own blog that I write about sports Mondays through Fridays at sports-scoop.com.
Thanks, Jordan. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move over to another team who has been moving up as well. We have Steven covering the Dallas Mavericks. Hi, Steven.
Hey, Miss Megan, how you doing?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I can't complain. Life's good. I'm talking basketball with y'all today, so, it's a great day.
So y'all have had an interesting couple of games. There's been some issues with Luka. He got ejected last night. And then he's also looking at a possible suspension. But, you guys, the season's about to wrap up, so that won't really be too much of a problem. But just kind of a weird couple of games for Luka recently is what it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else to add. He's quickly becoming one of the toughest players, even for someone who covers the Mavs. He's becoming one of the toughest players to actually like. And, if you recall, the past few times that I've been on here, one of the things that I've been harping on is that, that the Mavs revolve around Luka, and that may sound like kind of like a no-brainer, but a lot of teams have other ways that they can attack a defense. Well, really, the buck stops with Luka, and he's been attacking, it seems like, these accolades all season long. Came in with preseason MVP, hopes and aspirations above him, and he's not going to get that because of their horrid start. But he's picking it up. But the thing is he's becoming pretty diva-ish. Just always bickering at the referees, more so than your average NBA superstar. And then also the unfriendly cup check that he did to Colin Sexton the other night, against Cleveland. That was pretty unsavory.
Agreed. He did say it was unintentional though. So, I think when you're in that kind of physical ability, you're in the moment. I don't think that you always know exactly where your body's going at that moment. So I doubt that. I don't see it being just super intentional like that. He doesn't have a history like Draymond Green being like that. So maybe I think to me it's just his drive to win is kind of how I've taken it.
I mean, if that's your take on it, that's fine. To me, it looked pretty intentional. Like, you saw him make eye contact. He looked physically frustrated at Colin Sexton, glanced down, cocked his hand back, and slung it. So, I mean, it looked like he knew what he was doing. But, I mean, I guess
when I say unintentional, I mean, I don't think he intentionally meant for it to go where it went. I think he probably was frustrated through his arm, but I doubt that he meant for it to go exactly where it landed.
Yeah, he might have threw it off target, but he was trying to. I mean, it was pretty obvious that he was trying to hit him, but maybe it was one of those things that he didn't anticipate Sexton move. And you're right, Megan. It could. Maybe I'm assuming the worst of my own guy. I'm pretty tough on my team, so it may be, but I mean, he's kind of developing. He said that you said that he doesn't have this Draymond Green type reputation. Well, it's got to start somewhere, and it doesn't look like he's helping himself out so far this season.
Right. It was a frustrating first part of the season for you guys, and since then you guys have kind of moved into you've gelled together. You're sitting in fifth right now. You're 40-28. And, Tim Hardaway is having some great games. Josh Richardson's playing really well. And then Dwight Powell's been playing pretty well as well. So, I've been impressed with I didn't know I kind of figured you guys were going to be in the play-in tournament, either like the 6th or maybe the 7th seed, but you've now moved up out of that. And I don't know if it's just y'all winning or the Lakers losing, but somebody had to move up and somebody had to move down. So I think it's probably a combination of both. Like you were talking about the game with Cleveland, I don't know. It was 124-97 with you guys taking the W. I don't think that I would have been as frustrated as Luka was at that point in time. Like, you're winning the game by quite a bit, guy. Calm down.
Yeah, I mean, Colin Sexton's pretty strong, so he probably didn't appreciate the extra effort from the losing team, trying to box out as hard. I don't know. I mean, again, I saw it and I was like, okay, Luka, like, that was pretty uncalled for. Like you said, we were up. There's no reason to be so frustrated.
Right. I can see that. So you guys play the Grizzlies tomorrow at 7, the Pelicans Wednesday at 8, and then the Raptors Friday at 8. So One, I need you to beat those first two teams for a fact as a Spurs
I'll do
fan.
my best. I'll see what I can
Right.
do for you, Megan.
The Grizzlies are right above us in the seeding, so they're at number 9. And then the Pelicans are right behind us, but they are 2.5 games behind. So, I think we'll be okay. I think even if we lose every game this week, which is a possibility because we play the Bucks tonight, we play the Nets next, and then we finish up with the Knicks. So, the game that I'm looking at that's probably winnable is maybe the Knicks, but the Knicks are really good. So,
they're pretty tough.
Go ahead and beat those teams for me.
I'll see what I can do. I'll call Luca after the show and tell him, to stop swinging on people and, start putting teams away.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. What game do you have the most worries about?
It's tough to say which one. We close out the season on Minnesota, and for whatever reason, they decided to start playing basketball to get rid of their draft pick and not make the playoffs. So I don't know what they're thinking, but I don't know. The Grizzlies have a lot at stake, with the play-in and whatnot. So that's going to be a tough one. Ja Morant is always a tough, he's always going to give you 100%. He's a very competitive player. I love Ja Morant myself. New Orleans, Zion's probably out for the rest of the season, it looks like, with a finger injury. So they weren't really doing so hot anywhere. I'm not super worried about them. Toronto, they're probably looking to improve their draft stock too. They're not going to make the playoffs. So really Memphis is the only team that I'm genuinely worried about because they have as much to fight for, if not more than we do, because we're going to make the playoffs. They're trying to be in that play-in picture.
Right. Agreed. Well, hopefully, Luka can keep his hands to himself and not get ejected.
That would be really nice. I almost want him to get this next technical real quick before the playoffs come. I just want him to get a technical, maybe sit out against New Orleans and reset,
Right. And so if, let's say he doesn't get another technical for these next 4 games, do those technicals carry over to the playoffs?
As far as I understand, yes, unless the rule has changed, because we saw the same thing with Draymond Green in the playoffs. Right. You mentioned him earlier, and that was a critical ejection and a 1-game suspension that they had to sustain through against the Cavaliers in the finals. So as far as I know, they do carry over. I don't know if that changed for this season in particular or not, but as far as I know, those technical fouls carry over, and we've seen lately it doesn't take much for Luka to get his feathers ruffled up a little bit. So I just want him to get it done, get it over with, and against one of these teams that Dallas may be able to beat without him. And
that's what he was trying to do last night.
I don't know. I don't know how you don't get teed up for that. You got a flagrant too.
Definitely.
And it wasn't a headshot. Well, yeah, it wasn't a headshot either. So.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Stephen, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck on your games this week. And we will see you in the playoffs.
All right, we'll be looking forward to seeing the Spurs. Yeah.
I hope so. Let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and we'll see you back soon.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for having me on. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at StephenBTG, Instagram, Stephen W. Gillespie. You can follow the podcast, the social media pages that we have for that. It's called Breaking the Game. You can find those on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at BTG NBA Pod. We're on the Dash Radio app on the Nothing But Net channel every Monday and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. So you can follow us there. And the podcast is available anywhere podcasts are available at Breaking the Game. And again, Megan, thank you so much for having me on. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move over to the East. We have Cool McCain covering the Milwaukee Bucks and also the Nuggets this week.
Good evening, Megan. How's it going today?
It's going really well. How are you?
Can't complain.
So you guys, the Bucks moved back to 3rd. You're a half game behind the Nets. You're 43-24, and you're coming off of a win against the Rockets on Friday. Yep. How did that game go?
So what I liked is I just saw them playing really well together. I saw them kind of shifting into playoff mode. We've got guys kind of getting defined roles. You have guys saying, I'm the enforcer on the team. I'm this type of player. I'm the setup guy. I'm the close guy. I'm the defensive guy. I'm the sixth man. I'm the spark plug. Everybody kind of seems to be finding their roles on the team. So that was very encouraging for me because that's the biggest thing I was concerned with the Bucks was how they were going to gel because of pieces coming in late and then so many games being missed due to injury.
Okay.
And
You
then
know what I
last
thought?
week,
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
You know what I thought was interesting about this game was that Giannis wasn't the top scorer. He wasn't the second scorer. He wasn't the third top scorer. He was fourth, actually, or no, fifth.
Yep.
You had at number one, you had Brooke Lopez, who had 24 points, and then Chris Middleton had 23 points. Drew had 20 points. Then you had DiVincenzo. Did I say his name right this time? With
You got
18. Close. Okay. And then Giannis was 17. So, that's pretty interesting. So, he had 7 assists and 11 boards. Seems like he is trying to spread around the points and just make better plays for the entire team.
Mm-hmm. They were actually undefeated this week. And I think one of the big reasons, the big reason was that, they decided, hey, Giannis can score 40 points a game. That's great. But in order for us to do what we need to do beyond the regular season, other guys need to step up and kind of be able to fill those roles in certain situations. Houston doesn't really have a solid big that can guard Brooke Lopez. So you would expect him to be able to go off in that type of game and have one of the better games that he's had in a while. So, it's kind of one of those things where if you can't do it now, when are you going to do it? So, it's encouraging, though, like you said, to see just because of being able to spread the ball around. The last thing you want is to get into the playoffs and everybody say, you know what, Giannis is good. We got to stop him. We can pay a little bit of attention to Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday's iffy, and that's all we have to worry about. That's going to get you sent home pretty fast. It happened to him, last year. So you want to have some other guys step up and just be able to play and be able to put points on the board when you need to. And they've been doing that, lately. They've kind of allowed Giannis to step back a little bit and allow some other guys to kind of find their offensive rhythm.
I liked what I've seen out of Forbes for you guys for the last couple of weeks. Also, former Spur, he's been having double digits for you guys off the bench. Love that. That's something that we used to kind of reminds me of Patty Mills, honestly, just kind of the size, the build, and just even the shooting ability. So that's just kind of, and then we play you guys tonight. So the game's about to start. Yep. I don't expect us to win this game. I kind of expect you guys to win. But we might be able to catch a win. You guys might just kind of start getting in resting mode as far as getting ready for the playoffs. Right. You don't have to worry about the play-in tournament. So if we were able to catch a win tonight, I wouldn't say it wasn't because you guys weren't capable. I would say it was more like you're just trying to get to the end of your regular season.
Well, I got to tell you, I've seen a couple of Spurs games, and thank you for Forbes, by the way. Appreciate that. But you guys play really hard. And the one thing about teams that play hard is when you play hard and you give it your all every game, you're going to win some games that you shouldn't win. So whenever I see the Spurs on the schedule, I'm like, this is a 50-50 game because if they come out and everybody plays as hard as they can and we don't, which we have shown that we will do, then it's easy to be beat. And, that's kind of what I consider a trap game is you guys definitely. Because like I said, if you come out not focused, you can lose. The only reason we may play hard is we're still within a half a game of second place.
Right.
So we may want to try to push to get over the Nets, who only won one game last week.
Right.
Of course, the game was against the Nuggets.
Yeah, we played them after we play you guys. And, last week we only caught one W. We lost both games to the Jazz. Then we got blown out by Portland. But we did manage to beat Sacramento. But Sacramento doesn't have Fox right now, and they don't have Halliburton either. So I kind of anticipated us winning that game. I see you guys being victorious, but I hope my Spurs catch the W. After that, y'all play the Magic tomorrow and then the Pacers on Thursday. Pacers is going to be an interesting game. They have been able to kind of turn things around a little bit in the last 2 to 3 weeks. They are sitting at number 9 right now and are in that play-in tournament, so they're going to be playing pretty hard.
Yeah, they've got all their pieces back now, and once you have all your pieces, that makes a big difference. Carousel is a stud, and having him back on the team, that definitely helps them out a lot. I hope we're able to win the game. Like I said, I think we still should be playing hard. We've got a sliver of hope to get that number 2 seed. We pretty much blew it on the number 1 seed. Us and the Nets have pretty much blown it. The Nets just had a week where they blew themselves out of it. And we still ended up ahead of us in the standings. Unbelievable. But it's it's crunch time. We still have tiniest of window, but opportunity to try to get that number 2 and get home court at least until the finals if the Sixers make it that far. But you want to round into shape, probably try to rest minutes, like you said, try to get some guys at least not as many minutes in the game. So you may see some of the main guys scoring go down a little bit. Hopefully Giannis's goes down a little bit, because honestly, I think he's had to carry too much of the burden. And you have points in the season where you need that guy to do that. But once you get to this point, it's kind of like other guys can't do it by now. Why are they there?
Agreed. And so, that's why I was saying I like the point spread that I saw out of that last game. I hope to see that. I mean, obviously it was against Houston, so not exactly the most challenging game, but you still love to see that structure and that system working. So let's go ahead and jump over to the Nuggets. They're in 4th. They're 44-24. That's a whole lot of fours. We're seeing a lot out of Michael Porter Jr. I love that. His first season, his rookie season, he ended up being injured. And then part of last year, he was also injured part of that. So you love to see him be able to step up. So they played the Nets Saturday. And while they did come up short, Michael Porter Jr. had 28 points, 2 assists, 4 rebounds. Joker had 29 points, 6 assists, 7 boards. And then you had Campazzo, who had 19 points, 5 assists, and 2 rebounds. And so since you guys have had some issues with injuries, I've seen a lot out of Campazzo the last few weeks. I've really enjoyed how he stepped that up.
Well, he's a veteran. He played overseas for years. So even though he's newer to the NBA, he's a basketball veteran. He's professional. So I do expect him to step up and do what he's been able to do for us. So it's great. He was a great find. He was a great guy to be able to bring in. The biggest thing that concerns with the Nets is we were 1-3 last week. The Nuggets, you can't be 1-3. You're fighting for that 3rd seed. You had it. You let it go. And we lost to the Lakers. That's unacceptable right now. That's unacceptable.
At this point, yeah, definitely.
Then we lost to the Knicks. Not the Knicks. We also lost to the Jazz.
They're kind of expected, even though Mitchell isn't there, that's still kind of expected. Mitchell's counterpart that they had to play in the playoffs last year, he's injured as well within Jamal Murray. So, you kind of expect it to still be the same type of level of game that it was.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I think the Jazz, they actually had us down a lot, and we were able to kind of fight our way back, but we just didn't get there. The next game was the most disappointing loss because we had them by the throat, and we took the throttle off. The difference is when we did that in the past, we had a guy like Jamal Murray to step in and bring us back. He's not there. So we need what Michael Porter Jr. brings, but, without missing other pieces, we kind of have to stay locked in the whole game. And then Jokic was 0 for 3 at the end of the game, complaining about fouls. He was fouled, but at the end of the day, you're a big man.
You're going to get fouled.
You have to take the foul, and you have to make the shots. You cannot complain to the referees and go 0 for 3 in big moments in the game at the last few, seconds of the game because you're complaining because you were fouled. And you have a valid complaint, but at the end of the day, you have to make those shots. You know that you're the guy, your counterpart is not there, so you have to step up. You have to find a way to make the shots. And then, some of the other guys, one thing about Malone, I've seen some of the late game lineups. I'm kind of like, why? The last few games. I think you kind of have to still say we need Aaron Gordon in the game. We need to go big at the end of the games. Surprise some people. You have McGeeson on the bench. Put in 2 bigs at the end of the game.
Right.
Do some things different.
And in that game, Gordon didn't play in that game.
Yeah.
So he was obviously resting. But yeah, like you said, McGee, he's another big guy. And his presence, just even being right there, could make that much of a difference defensively.
Yeah, he's been subbing Gordon out at weird moments about the last week and a half. Kind of has me thinking, like, what are you doing? I guess he has a strategy, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense right now. Maybe saving him for the playoffs. Maybe he's just trying to make sure he doesn't get injured or something. I don't know. But it's just a little, you're still fighting. So it's kind of like, if you were set in your position, if you were, say, Milwaukee out east, then you could say, okay, well, we know we're going to be in this position. We can kind of do that. But you're still fighting. You still have a chance to try to get a higher seed to get yourself a easier first round opponent. Theoretically speaking, it may not be because of how the West is playing out. And it could be strategy, honestly. They could be looking and saying, we'd rather play whoever's in
number 7. If they maintain the 7th seed or the 8th seed, that might absolutely be strategy. You may not want to play the Lakers first round, because if they come back healthy, that's kind of the biggest fear right now in the West is, what are the Lakers going to do? Are they going to be that healthy? Are they going to be one of the most dangerous 7 seed teams that we've ever seen? That's a question that's up in the air. I'm personally of the opinion that I think LeBron's hurt. I think he's hurt more than he probably lets on. Now, will he be on the court? Yes, he's absolutely going to be on the court once the playoffs hit. But I think he's hurt. Just my opinion. I don't think we're going to see the same type of level of play out of him this playoffs. But I'm not really willing to bet against them either. So it's still AD and LeBron. So. I don't know. I think we definitely see them get out of the first round for sure.
Well, I'll tell you this, Megan. A lot of people do share your opinion. For me, I think I kind of look at it like this. Yeah, LeBron and AD are going to, do what they do. There's no doubt about that. But you don't have Rondo this year. And then you brought in someone, he's out. So you're kind of like, is he going to be back in time or not? And without him, without LeBron at 100%, you're missing a lot of your facilitation. You don't really have another guy that you can bring in that can kind of really run that point guard position. So that's a position where they're going to be kind of lacking. And it doesn't look like, Schroeder's going to be, and even if he does get back, it's going to be the same thing that you have with AD, the same thing that you have with LeBron, the same thing you have with any guy that's been out that long. He's going to come back. He's going to be a little rusty. He's not going to be, as much up to par. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that, especially once they start to get into the playoffs. And then, like you said, I do agree with your opinion that I think LeBron is really hurt. He said so himself that he's probably never going to be 100% again. So I think it's just wear and tear over the years. At some point, your age catches up to you. And I think we're starting to see, LeBron's still one of the best players in the league, but probably more served to be playing more like 25, 30 minutes a game. And having other people be able to pick up some of that slack. Whereas Anthony Davis, he can still go for a long period of time, but just Anthony Davis doesn't hit the same as Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
Absolutely.
So, but they can't use some of the other guys, right? So some of those guys like Horton Tucker and different guys, you probably want to try to slide those in a little bit, give LeBron more breaks to see what happens. But I think the Lakers could fall early. I think they could fall in the play-in.
I do think it's a possibility. It really just depends how Golden State plays, and it depends on if we see LeBron on the court, and which LeBron we see, honestly. So, a lot of variables there. Draymond Green had a really great game last game, as I was saying before. So if he's actually heating up points-wise, I know it's late in the season, but if he's heating up, it's the time to do it right now. You never know.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, cool. Thank you so much for covering both teams this week. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and they can follow you. And we'll definitely see you back because both these teams are in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. So you can catch me on Instagram at Cool McCain. You can also follow me on Instagram at Play Callers Sports Talk Show. Same thing on Twitter at Cool McCain. And pretty much I'll be on the sip off here soon, sliding in there, have a little fun. So you can catch me there as well. And of course, you can follow me on Facebook, Cool McCain, as well. So
thank you so much,
guys.
Cool. See you next week.
Playoffs are coming, baby. Yes, sir.
Definitely. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and do another back-to-back. We have Steve covering the Golden State Warriors and the Nets. Hey, Steve, how are you?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing really well as well.
Great. Awesome.
So you guys had a massive blowout against OKC. We're going to start with Golden State. My bad.
We can start with Golden State. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
They beat the OKC Thunder 136-97. So almost 40 points. Ridiculous. Yeah. Let's talk about Draymond. He had a huge game. He had 15 points, 13 assists, and 5 boards. I know you're a big Draymond fan. Were you excited to see that type of performance out of him?
Yeah, absolutely. It's always great to see Day playing well. The assists are going to be there. The rebounds usually are there, though he only had 5, but still, 15, 13, and 5 is solid, obviously. But yeah, it's really the points is you need, and actually this game, obviously they scored 136 points, so a lot of people scored a lot of points. But
Right.
it is really nice to see them get that legitimate third option. And Andrew Wiggins has been great. Obviously, Steph Curry is Steph Curry, and he had 49. But he's going to do. He hit 11 threes, whatever, right? But
Right.
Seeing Draymond, because Draymond's been having a couple of those games where he'd have 12 rebounds, 16 assists, and 2 points. Like the Warriors need more. They need more than that for him. They need him to be a little bit more aggressive offensively. So it was definitely good to see him do a little bit more of that. Now again, OKC definitely not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll pump the brakes a little bit. Like tonight they have Utah, and tomorrow they have Phoenix. So this is the real big stretch right here because you're sitting there. Obviously, this second they're in 8th right now, and the Lakers are at 7 right now, which would be obviously the dream for the NBA to have Lakers and Warriors in a 7-8 playing game. But the Monday and Tuesday, this tonight and tomorrow against Utah and Phoenix is going to be really tough. But then you get the Pelicans again on Friday, and then you finish with Memphis on Sunday. So if they can find a way, it's going to be hard. But if they can find a way to win one of these 2 games against Utah and Phoenix here in this back-to-back, that would be huge. But obviously, Steph scoring 49 and going, 11 for 21 from 3. But they also, Wiggins had 16, Wiggins had 18, Jordan Poole had 16. And JTA, fresh off of his getting his actual contract, no more 2-way contract. He signed a legitimate NBA contract. He had 12 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. So, again, it was against the Thunder, so let's not throw a victory parade just yet. It was against OKC, but it was still a great game as they're getting ready for the play. They're going to be in one of the play-in tournaments. If they drop to 9, they'll be in the 9-10. Obviously, if you stay at 8, they'll be in the 7-8. And obviously, you want to be 8 over 9 because if you're 8, you only have to win one of the next 2 games. You get you get 2 chances. If you're 9, you only get 1 chance. So obviously, it's really, really important for them to win some of these games. Like I said, if they can split Utah and Phoenix, which is going to be hard, but if they can get one of them, obviously you got to beat the Pelicans at home on Friday night on ESPN, and then Memphis on Sunday. Both teams should be in, so it's just a matter of seeding. But hopefully they'll be able to have some momentum and play it. And I know that there's a report that LeBron is close to coming back either tomorrow or Wednesday or soon. But I agree with you. He's definitely not healthy by any stretch of the imagination. He's not close to 100%. And that's the thing. What makes him so good is, he's a great passer. He has floor vision, but he's just so much stronger and faster than everybody else. So if you're not stronger and faster than everybody else because you're basically on one leg, it really, really, diminishes what he can do. And for me, I think this is a big deal. You want to at least have a game or 2 before the playoffs to kind of get back in the swing of things. The coach can get your rotation back down because obviously, like you talked about, the playoffs is pretty much a different season. It really is its own separate season.
It's a mini season. And it's just because there's so many teams that are in it. And, it's just a different level of play. And, I had a conversation with someone yesterday that was talking to me about the Lakers. And they said that, NBA players fake injury all the time so they can rest. But I think that this is a different situation because you're not going to fake an injury and then be in the play-in tournament. You don't want to be in the play-in tournament. And especially if you've been injured, you want that week, 7 to 10 days worth of rest because you didn't even get that after the All-Star game. Like there was not a normal break like what we normally see. So, to me, that was that sign that LeBron is that hurt because one, he didn't want to be in the play-in tournament. He voiced this a week and a half ago that he didn't want to be in the play-in tournament. So here they are in the play-in tournament. If he could have prevented that, he would have.
Yeah, because that's the thing in this situation. Yeah, if it's a second night of a back-to-back and you want to say, oh, you're, ankles acting up or something like that. Yeah, sure. That happens all the time. But in this situation, the Lakers were the 3 seed.
Right.
The Lakers were the 3 seed, and LeBron goes out, and now they are fighting to stay on in the 7 seed. So obviously you're not going to do that. I don't think they're that cocky that you're like, you know what, let's try something fun. Let's just see if we can win it from the 7 seed just for fun.
Right.
Yeah, like that. So that's definitely not happening. He is definitely hurt. He's definitely not right. It really does, and I'm not a LeBron guy. It really does help the LeBron people's camp, the team LeBron, by how much the Lakers look like a completely different team without him. It's amazing how quick the Lakers went from the deepest team in the league to how are they supposed to win a game with all these scrubs? It's just amazing how quick that happened. But so it does help his case. And obviously he's an all-time great, but and you want him to be healthy. I mean, NBA fans, you want him to be healthy. You don't want to add. That's the thing is, I think we said this a couple weeks ago on the show. Like, you don't want him to be hurt. You don't want these guys missing. And it's unfortunate that Jamal Murray's hurt, obviously, and all those, and it's obviously it's part of the game. But if you have the perfect, Harden obviously is out. We'll talk about the Nets in a second. But yeah, obviously you wish everybody could be healthy, everybody could be 100%, and let's actually see who the better, the best team is. But
absolutely. Okay, so let's go ahead and move over to the Nets since we just brought them up. They are back in the 2 seed. They're 44-24. Another whole bunch of fours right there.
Yeah.
They played the Nuggets on Saturday and were able to get a win, big win for them. Kevin Durant had 33 and 11 boards. Then you had Blake Griffin also had a really big game. He had 20 points. And I have to go back and just say that he looks really great coming off the bench for you guys. Definitely, I think taking that stress off of him at the age that he's at, and his physical abilities, that he was able to step up. And while you do have an injured Harden, he has become that third. He's become that third option.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, KD was KD. He had 33, 11, and 7. Kyrie Irving had 31 and 4. Played well, was 11 to 17 from the field. So, Kyrie played well. But Blake Griffin, and this is the key, not only did he have 20 points, he had 20 points in 27 minutes. So,
right.
And that's the thing is if you can get 20, probably 23 to 27 minutes from him, I don't think you're going to get over 30. So if you can get around that 23 to 27 minute mark a game from him, and he can be effective like this. Now, again, he went 8 for 10 from the field and 4 for 6 from 3. So he's probably not going to do that every night. But if he can get some consistency here where, he's getting 3 or 4 assists still, he got 2 steals. So if you're going to see a lot, which obviously, again, it craps on us people in Michigan, us Piston fans who had to watch whatever he did for the last couple of years. But you have an engaged Blake Griffin. And then it's been a while since the Clippers days, but an engaged Blake Griffin is pretty good. And that's what, that's what we're kind of reminding ourselves again, that an engaged Blake Griffin is pretty good. And he clearly has something to prove, kind of like, hey, you thought I was done. I'm not quite done yet. And the Nets again, and I'm sorry, because I know on Wednesday they play your, beloved Spurs. But besides that, they have the Bulls twice and the Cavs. So you would think they could hold on to that 2 spot, that the Bucks aren't going to be able to catch them because of their schedule down the stretch. But yeah, I don't expect Harden back. I really don't. Speaking about somebody who's definitely not right. If they try to rush him, it might be a case where you try to play him a little bit in the first round. As let's say, if they're the 2 seed, they're going to play, the 7-8 winner. So if you get lucky and you get a situation where, maybe you can ease them into it a little bit in that first round, but of course now Boston has an injury too, obviously losing Jaylen Brown, but some of those teams are dangerous, in the playoffs. And obviously the Wizards, sometimes I talk about, which right now they're in the play-in game, so they would have to, obviously they couldn't be 7, but they could be 8 if they, win the 9-10 game and then win against the loser of 7-8. But, and they have a pretty they have the Hawks twice, Monday and Wednesday, and then they finish with the Cavs and the Hornets. So they kind of have their last 2 games favorable too. And Bradley Beal just scored 50 and Rush just had 33, 19, and 15. So, they're doing the things that they do. So and I know some people don't like it. May 18th to the 21st during that play-in tournament next week. I am so excited for that.
Me too.
And it is going to be so great. Like, I almost wanted to just come on here really quick this week and be like, let's just get to next week. I'm just excited for next week.
Right.
Let's get to next week. Come on, let's go to next week. But there's still some games. Yeah, there's still some important games this week. But it's kind of like, all right, let's go.
And especially, now that injury happened for the Celtics, now there's going to be some shuffling in the 7 to 10th seed as far as the East. And I don't think there's going to be a ton of shuffling in the West as far as the 7 to 10th seed. I think that's probably the matchup that we're going to see. But now over in the East, for once, it's pretty competitive, in a long time. It's pretty competitive. I think the Wizards are starting to look like a team that we thought that they were going to be. And they look, I don't know about dangerous, but they look interesting.
I'll tell you, but besides obviously the Nets, Bucks, and 76ers, everybody else, Hawks, Knicks, Wizards if they're in, obviously, Celtics, Raptor, whatever, Heat, like all those teams, Pacers if they get in, all those teams, they really are good enough to beat up on each other. That any one of those, and you saw what happened with the Heat last year. They got hot at the right time. They make it all the way to the NBA Finals. Obviously, all year they weren't the best team in the East, but they came out of the East. So, could a team? And I mean, I would have said this before Jaylen Brown's going to be out. So now I don't feel as strongly. But like a team like the Celtics, if they're healthy, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum with Kemba, if those three are healthy, and Jabari Parker they've been getting good minutes from, and that's a team that can beat you 4 out of 7 times with Brad Stevens as their coach. And now without Jaylen Brown, now it's going to be really hard. But a team like that, obviously, Trae Young can win a game or two by himself for you. Obviously, with the Wizards, Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal can good enough to get you for a game or two. So those and we saw it with Milwaukee last year, obviously. So you can't just be like, oh well, let's just hurry up and get to the Eastern Finals. It's going to be the 76ers against whoever beats them. Whoever wins between the 76ers and it's going to be the 76ers versus whoever wins between the Nets and the Bucks. Let's just, get this over with. Because some of those teams, I mean, they could beat you. They could beat you. And it's, I mean, again, I said, I don't want to forget about this week, but I am really looking forward to the next 3 weeks after this week.
Me too. The play-in tournament's going to be really interesting, and it's the first time in a while that I'm looking forward to both sides of the playoffs. Like the East is pretty competitive. If you go look at the records from 4 and 5 and 6 are really close, and then you have 7, 8, 9, and 10. Those are all real close together as well. I mean, there's some separation between those two groups, but those those seedings are really, really close. So I'm looking forward to not only the play-in tournament, but the first round is going to be really interesting too. So good luck on y'all. Go ahead.
Like you said, it's a condensed season, so everything's kind of crazy and bundled together. So. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a good next couple of weeks here for sure.
Definitely. Well, let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you, Steve, and we'll see you back next week.
Absolutely. All Eyes on You, just the letter U, Hoops. All Eyes on You, Hoops on Twitter is the easiest way, or my personal Twitter, SMan1720. But All Eyes on You, Hoops is the easiest one. I have a basketball website right there. You get the link right there. And then my Flagrant Friends podcast every Tuesday nights. We record it and get it up there late Tuesday night, early Wednesday, where we talk about just the national NBA games on the national network. So no matter where you live, you can listen to it. We'll talk about games that you can watch. So that's the easiest way. And then obviously here every Monday night, talking any one of 3 teams or all 3. Doesn't matter.
Thanks, Steve. We'll see you back next week.
Absolutely. Have a great week, Megan.
You too. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and keep it in the East. We have Kevin covering the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Hi, Megan. What's up?
How are you?
Pretty tough exams and stuff plus COVID. So, it's kind of tough, but yeah, going through it.
Yeah, definitely. So you guys had a really interesting game last night with the Mavericks. Tell us about that.
Right now, to talk about Mavericks, it was like they started up very close. It was a very offensive game. If you see in the first quarter, it was 30-39. And then the second quarter it was like 23-25. So we were very close when it came to the halftime. The third quarter again, the curse was upon us that in third quarter we did not perform well. We scored 19 points, and that's a time where Mavericks took off. They again scored 34 points, and then it was kind of like a tough thing for us. Even Luka got ejected. That was something which was in our favor, but still we were not able to capitalize. And that same issue of not scoring in the third quarter, not clicking on the third quarter, affected us this game.
Right. So you guys are playing the Pacers today, and then the Celtics Wednesday, and then the Wizards on Friday.
Yeah.
Is there any game that you're most concerned about? Are you less concerned about Boston now that we've heard about Jaylen Brown's injury? The Pacers should be a pretty tough game, but even the Wizards have kind of heated up as well.
Uh, yeah, so both the games are totally different when you see the dynamics of the teams. When you see Boston, it's like Jalen Brown, Kemba Walker, Jason Tatum, their new center, that is Williams. See, all of them are very good players. But now when we have seen Jalen Brown out, it's going to be kind of easy for us because one of the two scoring spirits are out. So
Right.
we are expecting a really good game. Second is Washington versus Cleveland. Now Bradley Beal, MRI is out, and probably he is going to miss more. So it eases off a bit for us. But right now our main focus is to not let these teams win so that they can have a good playoff position, because we are already out of the contention. Right now we just have to be a hurdle for them that they don't get those easy wins. So both of these games are totally apart from itself. So we have to take different approaches to both of these games.
So, as we wrap up the season, and like you talked about, you guys aren't really in contention. So, talk to us about some of your favorite moments from the season, things that you saw that were good, and then follow up with where do you think you guys need to improve most, and what would you do?
My most favorite part was when in February Cleveland was, in a 10-game streak. We saw the Sixlin duo working out. So that was the highlight of the season. Then we saw Dean Wade coming out of a very good stretch. Isaiah Hardenstein also coming out. The inclusion of Kevin Love and Larry Nance in the mid of the season, almost at the end of the season, was something which I'm looking forward to. Considering the whole performance of Cleveland Cavaliers, we have seen it has a really good core, a good mix of veterans and young players. But the main problem was the consistency. Bickerstaff had some really good plays, had some really good system setup, but I don't know what went wrong. Then injuries were nagging, obviously. With Matthew Deladova was like kind of in concussion protocols as well. Kevin Love missing most of the games, Larry Nance missing most of the games, so the veteran voice was missing as well. A lot of fans also talk about Kevin Porter Jr. Being traded to Houston, and Andre Drummond traded to Cavaliers. So for me, when you talk about Kevin Porter Jr., it was not the on-court issues; it was the off-court issues which we are facing, and that is something which any organization wouldn't love. A player of that caliber, uh, not having a good off-court impression on everyone. So it was more of an organizational trait. Other than that, yeah, there were some really good additions to the squad, and in the next season, we are really expecting that this group stays together and they can possibly contend for the playoffs.
Absolutely. I definitely saw some things out of you guys. I saw Colin Sexton step up into more of that leader position. And I really like seeing that out of him. He's a dangerous scorer, which he proved. And then I really liked the addition with Jarrett Allen to your squad. I'm a huge Jarrett Allen fan. Obviously, I'm a Longhorn fan. That's where he went to school. So love seeing him going somewhere where I felt like he even though Cleveland had a tough season, I felt like you guys appreciate Jarrett Allen. And I don't think he was getting the same type of appreciation over in Brooklyn, obviously, because, they traded him. And even though, he was brought up through their organization. They just felt like they could go a different direction. I think that that's going to be those two players and Garland as well are like the future of your team. And I enjoy that core of what you have. So come back with us next week and do the final wrap up for your team. And we will see you back next week. Kevin, let everybody know where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Sure, you can find me in the CarePod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on Spotify and on YouTube. So you can catch me anytime, anywhere, and just talk about sports. It has been a really good week for football, and it is going to be an amazing week for basketball. So that is what we are looking for. And I'll be on Sideline Sports if someone wants to talk about Cleveland Cavaliers or some other teams.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and move back over to the West. We have Jay Nelson covering the Houston Rockets. Hey, Jay, how are you?
What's going on? What's going on?
Oh, not
this weekend.
Congratulations, graduate. Love hearing that.
I finally did it.
That's a huge accomplishment. Huge accomplishment.
So. Yes, absolutely. So what's good? What's on the agenda?
So, you're going to be going back to Houston soon. And while y'all's season is coming to an end, you guys are going to be, start gearing up and thinking about next season. And we've been talking about this a little bit for the last couple of weeks. But let's go ahead and recap the game that you guys had on Saturday against Utah. It was actually a pretty close game, considering I'm looking at the names that you guys played, and I don't recognize all of them.
Exactly. Olnick did not play, Wood did not play, and KPJ did not play. However, we kept it within 8 points. Kenyon Martin Jr., he stepped up real big. He had 27 points, 2 assists. Jeffries had 17, 7, and 5. And then off the bench, K. Thomas had 27. He had 27 coming off the bench, along with 5 rebounds and 3 assists. So this is what I've been saying after week is I know it is too late for this season, but the way that these youngsters have been coming either off the bench or on the starting line and putting up these numbers, don't take it for stat padding, okay? This is literally the future of the Houston Rockets, It's showing everybody what they got going for next season, absolutely. But I'm proud of the guys. They're still out there giving the effort and everything.
Absolutely.
And I'm very optimistic for next season. Give them a lot more time to gel together.
I agree. You have a little, and I have some similar feelings for the Spurs. Like we went through a rough season, and we were pretty hot there for a while. Actually, kind of like after the trade, you guys had like a 9-10 game win streak, and then you fell upon some injury things. We actually had a bout with COVID, and we just never kind of regained the same steam. And so, I'm proud of them. I think they played the best that they could and dealt with the schedule the best that they could. But I don't know how optimistic I am about next season. We played well enough that we're not going to have the greatest draft pick. But are we going to re-sign DeMar? What are we going to do? So, I think things look really hopeful in Houston, and I think you have a chance at being the best team in Texas again. So, you guys are playing Portland today, the Lakers on Wednesday, and then the Clippers on Friday. Tough end of a schedule right there. I know the Lakers are kind of going through it, but they're still a team to beat. Yeah, they're still a team to beat. And then Clippers have been playing really well. They've been winning kind of quietly. Nobody's really been talking about them a whole lot. And you said what?
They did have that loss fixed, but I think that right there is much of an indictment on the Clippers. They're still a great team. That's just a testament to how good the Knicks really are.
I agree. I definitely, and the Knicks are the number 1 defensive team, and that sometimes that defense is what is going to catch you the win, So that just, like you said, is more of a testament of how good the Knicks really are. So, and then the Trailblazers, they got kind of cold there for a little while, but then they managed to blow us out Saturday night. So they're still a really good team, definitely. So, a rough way to finish up your season, but you guys are going to be gearing up for next season. So let's talk about what was your favorite moment from this season?
My favorite moment, from this season. I can't really pick one specific, I guess, moment like in a game or something. I mean, maybe some highlights here or there. Christian Wood's coming out party, really, because that showed me that we have a future. And then it was like when he started coming out, then we started seeing KPJ and then Kenyon Martin. Then the trade happened with Olnick, and so I think it started with Christian Wood as far as what it's going to be. So his coming out party, I was like, okay, yeah, it's not going to be one of those. Sure, we're going to end up last in the NBA. You know, I mean, I'll take that. But as far as the future goes, I think Wood really jump started it. And of course, let's not forget, it's still John Wall's team. So once Wall comes back and he gets to get with these guys, keep in mind, these guys are going to have an entire offseason to gel together. You know, so in that offseason, and they all gel together and revolve the offense around Christian Wood and then John Wall and then however else, and also got a lot of faith in Steven Siler and what he's doing, and also got faith in the general manager. Now, we also have to see who we get out of this draft and such, and then they have to mesh in as well. But I'm confident. They can't do any work. Texans front office. So,
right. You know what? I think my favorite thing out of y'all's season this year has actually been John Wall and his health. You know, we saw him return. He had a couple of minor injuries and then was rested some, but I really think that he has the right person coaching him for him to stay healthy. And he pretty much stayed healthy all season. And I just was concerned for him coming off of a 2-year injury, basically. Yeah. So, that's my favorite thing coming out of that, because you hate to see somebody that's still in their prime and kind of end up like Boogie, like Boogie is just so injury prone that we really don't know who.
Or even Oladipo.
Oladipo, right.
And he's still fighting that book. Now, John Wall, he did have that injury, and then we kind of sat him for the rest of the year. Do I think he could have came back? Yes. But do I think it was a smart move to sit him for the rest of the year? Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
The season's a wash. Leave it to the younger guys to see who you're going to get with next year and just rest up, I mean, I really think that, much as I love Oladipo, if you had to cut, like, one guy that was coming off of a huge injury, it had to be Oladipo. Wall was just the healthier guy.
He was healthy. And it's been a long time since we said that. So really enjoy that for him. And if there was one area that you think that you guys need to focus on the most for next season, what would it be?
Defense. I think that we got the right personnel as far as the big men. We definitely have that can move the ball around. We definitely have we have shooters. It may not be the run and gun like the NBA era, but we'll shoot enough, to get it done. And we have a coach that's smart enough to where if the threes aren't falling, he's going to take it down low or try to get to the line.
Right.
So but I actually, speaking of the draft, I had come across a couple of other names that I share real fast, because I talked about getting Jalen Suggs out of Gonzaga, but I came across a few more. Joel Ayayi from Gonzaga, same team, shooting guard, averaging 12 points per game and 6.9 rebounds per game. I think he'd be great. I think he'd be great on the wing. Darius out of LSU, power forward, another big man. He averaged 11.6 points per game and 7.8 points per game. He helped take LSU as far as they did in the NCAA tournament. And in the conference tournament as well, because if I'm not mistaken, they lost the conference final to Alabama, and it was a close game.
Right. Yeah, it was a close game.
And there's also Raekwon Gray out of State. He averaged 11 points per game and 6.4 rebounds per game. Another big man as well. Also, Scottie Pippen Jr. is coming out. I think him and Jalen Suggs can help John Wall back up the one spot, the one spot. But he averaged 20.8 points per game and 4 per game. So he would be a very great addition. And then there's Kai Jones out of Texas, the center. He averaged 8.8 points per game and 4.8 rebounds per game. Now at 6'11", 218, I don't like his weight. He needs to put on some weight.
Right. He definitely needs to put on some weight. That's a Kevin Durant build right there.
Exactly, and so like, what's going to happen when LeBron and AD come through the lane, or even Westbrook? Westbrook could run over,
Right, absolutely agree.
Yeah, he's got to put on some weight. If he can get to about 230, I'd be satisfied.
Right, I could see that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you don't want him to be so heavy that he becomes sluggish for his body type, but you definitely don't. I definitely think that KD's build is exactly why he's so injury prone.
Why he's so frail. Now that is the challenge, not just in basketball, but in any sport as well. One of the hardest things to do is to get bigger and faster at the same time. It is, but I mean, it is a hill to climb, or even get bigger and maintain speed, So, but young enough to do it. I think that he can maintain the same velocity and put up the same and be the same asset that he was at Texas and whatnot. And then if we were to pick him up, Christian Wood would be at center. We could probably leave Olenek at the 4 and not worry about covering the 5. Right. Off the bench, and then boom, Olenek can still do his thing at the 4. You know what I mean? When Wall's feeling it, I need a rest or whatever, or injured, we can Scottie Pippen Jr. to get him going. That'll be another thing as well, another great addition. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to see who we can pull out of the draft.
Definitely. All right, Jay. Well, thank you so much, and go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you and they can follow you, and then come back next week so we can wrap up your season.
All right. You can catch me on Twitter at NellyNell13, NELLINEL13. I'm also on the Sip Off on Saturday evenings, hosted by Megan Price. I'm also a writer for Dramatics, Disney on Roku. We average 1 million streams a month. I'm a writer for them. I'm also a writer for 22 Visions. And shout out Marshall Hill. Shout out Craig Davis. Uncle Mission Kings fam. Y'all take care. I'll see y'all next week.
Thanks, Jay. All right, guys, we're going to keep it in the West. We have Chris covering the Clippers. Hey, Chris,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. All right, so we were just talking about you guys. You kind of did what the Spurs usually do, stay in the 2 or 3 seed, and kind of quietly won all season long. And I think that's so dangerous because nobody's really talking about you guys. They're talking about the drama with the play-in tournament. Y'all don't have to worry about that. They're talking about the 1 and the 2, who's going to be who. And, they've had a couple of people that have had to go out with Mitchell, but they still maintain the 1 seed. So, you guys haven't always just been at the top of the, the news, the NBA news. But, man, you're at 3rd right now. You're 45-23, and you got Kawhi back. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's a good feeling, like you said. Just being under the radar, and that's what you want to be in this time of the year. You don't want to be the one like like you said, Utah and Phoenix, where if you go down, it's it's a bad omen. But being at the 3rd spot, and it's perfect. And getting Kawhi back is what the doctor ordered. I mean, you get a guy of that nature, especially during this time of year. He's needed.
Right, definitely. Well, and then also it might be, at this point, I don't think it's strategic now. I think maybe the Nuggets are strategically not trying to win. It was a point that Cool brought up actually, because who wants to play the 7 seed at a healthy Lakers,
Yeah. Especially, if the Lakers end up winning and beating Golden State and getting that 7th spot, right. You'll be playing the defending NBA champs. So that would be an ominous tax, especially for the first round, which would be just crazy.
Right. Or if they end up even 8 and they've got to play Utah first round, that's. I think that pretty much, even though you want to be 1 and 2, you want home court advantage. The Lakers just kind of threw in that wrench in the playoff season right there. Like, you just never really know what to expect now. Are they going to be healthy? Are they not going to be healthy? But, Kawhi came back doing Kawhi things. He had 29 points, 3 assists, and 4 rebounds in your game against the Knicks. Now, y'all did fall short yesterday, but it was a really close game. And, something that Jay said was, I don't think that's a testament to you guys not playing well. I think that was more of a testament of how good the Knicks are. And if you look, it's a pretty low scoring game. So that goes to speak that their defense is really good.
Yeah. And you're just hoping that especially this game is late in the season and actually being a home finale, you're just hoping that this is just one of those things that's like an eye opener, kind of to wake them up and be like, hey, it's time to get, it's time to get into the nitty gritty of the season. We can't have these type of games. And it's another one with, it feels like it's almost like an omen. Like it's almost like we've been down this road before with this Clippers team as far as not being able to finish games at the end. So it's kind of one of those things where you're looking at it, you're a week before the NBA, for the playoffs start, and you're like, oh boy, are we headed down this road again?
Right. Well, I think that, you guys you're safe for the play-in tournament. So you're going to be able to get that bit of rest. You play the Raptors tomorrow at 6:30, then you play the Hornets on Thursday, and then you play the Rockets on Friday. So not an extremely tough way to end your season. And I want to say y'all have the third position on lock. I don't see Denver surpassing you guys again. That was only 1 week that they were able to do that. But talk to me about Rajon Rondo. What have you thought about the additions of him this season?
I think he's just eased into the position. From what I've been seeing in this little short sample size, he's doing okay. But we got him for the playoffs. He's playoff Rondo for a reason. So I think we just kind of eased him into the situation now. You see some flashes of what he's doing there. He's, here and there, getting some valuable minutes and actually contributing pretty good in those a small amount of minutes that he's playing. He's been efficient in the time he's on the court. But, 2 weeks from now, this is when he's gonna earn his moniker of playoff Rondo.
Right. Well, I looked him up on my other show on the Sip Off, and I think it said that he's played in 160 playoff games. I think that's right. Let me look. It was something like that. Wow. It was quite a bit. So he has a ton of experience in the playoffs, and that's going to be something that you guys have needed at that position for a while. So if the playoffs were to start today, you play the Trailblazers in the first round. Tell me what your expectations are of that.
It'll be definitely a great series. Portland definitely is a team that you can't take for granted with Dame there, McCollum and then Melo. They got a lot of guys on that team that can definitely take care of business. It's actually would be the perfect matchup for them because the thing with the Clippers, they have to be challenged. This has to be. This is one of the years they have to be challenged, and playing against a team that finishes well in the end, and they're good in the clutch. You need to have that type of stability, and then actually get that Paul George, Dame Lillard out of his head. He's been living in his head rent free for nearly 2 years now. So he needs to kind of get. That'd be another way to kind of help them get over this hump. It's one of those things where, as a competitor, you want this to happen. Even though you want the Lakers potentially, but you want this to happen, especially for this type of team. This team has to be battle tested. This team has the talent. It's a mental thing with this team, and I think once they get over the mental hump, this team can definitely live up to their expectations, as I would deem as paper champions, as far as how they look on paper. This would definitely be a great matchup and can set the tone for this team. So I would welcome Portland with open arms.
I think it is a good matchup for you guys. I think it'll be a high-scoring series, but I think the difference maker here is going to be Kawhi and actually Marcus Morris. Both of those two players play defense, and there's not a whole lot of defense on Portland. You're not going to get defense out of Melo. You're not going to get defense out of Dame. Now, CJ does play some, Nurkic does play some defense, but not to the same type of level. Kawhi is maybe the best two-way player in the league at the moment. So, you're going to get the same performance out of him on both ends of the court. And Marcus Morris has proved to be a solid player for you guys this year. So, I do see you guys coming out victorious, but probably a 7-game series, or not a 6-game series. I think a 6-game series, maybe 5, just because, defense is that important. But they are just a very high-scoring team, a great offensive team out of Portland. So, they're still going to be able to – they have multiple scoring options, and defense is where y'all are going to have to show out.
Big time.
Definitely. All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and make sure you come back because you guys are going to do great in the playoffs, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed. You can follow the podcast under Couch Coach Live Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also follow the podcast. We get your we get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere you get those there, and I definitely appreciate it once again, and definitely looking forward to it. We, we've got even to the month of July potentially, but we will see.
All right, Chris, thank you so much.
All right, take care.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. And also make sure you tune into the WNBA. Regular season starts on Friday. The Dallas Wings were not able to win their first preseason game, but we didn't have the reigning scoring leader out of Enrique. So she's back. She's back in Dallas, and hope to see you guys watching the WNBA this season. We'll see you back next week.